Welcome back to the Steel City Roundtable. You know who I am, and I got a really cool guest. Know who it is? Ba-da! It's Natalie Snyder. How are you?
I am well. Thanks for having me back.
Well, let's pull this mic over here so we can hear you. So what have you been up to?
Life, the whole law gig, momming, same old, same old. How about what's been going on with you?
Nothing. Just living the dream, hanging out with my little Chiquita Latina wife, doing all the amazingly boring married stuff. Like waking up in the morning and
still being alive.
Yeah, still being here. But so I'm gonna let you do this thing. I'm gonna let you start talking about whatever you want to talk about because you are gracing me with your presence. For those of you knuckleheads that don't know who she is, Natalie was host like number 17. She came in and was with me for about 6 months, and then she had to go do some of her personal stuff, take care of her own junk. And so she decided she wanted to stop in and visit today. And I said, of course, because you're so much better looking than I am. And people actually listen to you instead of me. So,
well, I'm not sure how big of a compliment that was, but anyway, we'll move on. So, you know how I've been on here a lot of times talking about obviously mental health being my gig, but specifically lawyers and mental health, right?
Yes.
Okay. So a month or so ago, I was asked by LCL, Lawyers Concerned for Lawyers, to be part of a podcast on lawyer mental health. So, of course, I said yes. I was super excited to do it. It was a couple other, actually all criminal attorneys, which was nice. And so we did this. But right before, I verged on an absolute panic attack because it was a CLE. And it was put out to the Allegheny DA's office, like all these people that know me, but not all these people that know my story.
People that don't know what CLE is.
Oh, sorry. Continuing legal education. Bam. Classes we have to get board taking to keep our licenses.
She's adjusting her tatas.
So, yeah, well, because I'm short and they sit on the table. We've covered this. Steel Titty Round Table.
I do lick that part of the table every once in a while.
So I got through it and it turned out to be great. But had an issue last week that I kind of wanted to see what your thoughts were. So
that's never good if you're asking me for my opinion.
Well, I just want to see, because I know I'm hypersensitive about this issue. We don't have to talk about my other hypersensitivities. But so a very good friend of mine had his own hearing. He's an attorney. It's a long story. It was not a PCRA, but like a post-trial thing. Okay.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Where you have, he's a witness for the opposite side. Okay.
So he's a good guy.
So, well, I didn't say if it was civil or criminal, but it was after trial. So there were two questions that were asked of my friend. And they were really offensive to me and all the stuff that all of us cops, lawyers have been trying to do about mental health. So you sent this email to so-and-so and you said you were really stressed. Is that right? Did you really send that? Second one. So you sent it was an email or text. You sent a text message that said you were feeling overwhelmed a couple days before a homicide trial.
Okay.
And the attorney's trying to make it sound, clearly trying to embarrass and emasculate the other attorney. And I thought it was one of the most horrifying things I've ever seen. Because, like, is that really where you're going with this? If you're not stressed and overwhelmed going into a trial, then I don't think you're in the right place. But like we try to get people to talk and then they're actually being open and now we're going to ram it up their asses. And I was really put off by it. It's been bugging me ever since.
I mean, and rightfully so. Any advocate of mental health should be upset by that because, let me speak from my opinion, of course, because I don't mind talking about my bad shit, my good shit, whatever, right? So, like, if someone wants to judge me because of that, it doesn't fucking change my life. As an attorney, though, I think when it comes to attorneys, cops, first responders, coroner's office, all these people that have to deal with these traumatic moments, I think that's got to stay, unfortunately, it's still at the point, it's got to stay within the realms of your counseling and your therapy. I don't think you can actually say that to another person because they're going to tell somebody else, and then that's going to be a question of your credibility. Whether you're mentally sound to try that case.
Which, I mean...
I'm not agreeing with it.
No. I understand, and I will give the benefit of the doubt in so much as on a personal level, I see this differently, and I know the players involved. So I will give the benefit of the doubt that it would become a credibility issue. However, it's just, I guess it's so upsetting to me. And that's what makes people like me scared to death to go on and do a CLE. That's a bunch of other lawyers. And, I'm sitting there as a defense attorney knowing Allegheny County DA's office personnel and prosecutors are watching this, as well as other prosecutors. And it makes you scared to death to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's still,
if you're going to be called out for it later.
We're still at the point in this process where, your mental health is your mental health. And unfortunately, it stays in the back. It stays in the background. Like, I'm not, once again, not agreeing with it, not saying it's right, but it's just the way it is. The fact that this person was going to use the comments of being stressed and overwhelmed to undermine that person's credibility is, to me, a sign of a weak and petty fucking individual on that side for wanting to do that.
Well, and my friend was like,
you don't have enough, and you don't have enough in what you're dealing. You don't have enough legit case that you got to try to cut somebody down because your case is fucking wishy-washy.
Right. And that's what kind of got me. And, my friend was all upset because there was an objection. It was sustained as well it should be. And he was like, but I wanted to answer it because my answer is, well, yeah, of course I am. Who wouldn't be?
The thing is that the objection doesn't matter because you can't take it back. And whoever in that jury or whatever was listening to it is thinking, wow, maybe this guy's not fit.
And that's just it was a crushing blow to me, not just because it was somebody that I care about, but because it kind of sent a wave of panic through me, just being a month or so off doing the CLE and laying all my stuff out there. And it's like, oh my God, this is my biggest fear, is that it's going to come back on me and come back on my clients. And it was a kind of a paralysis moment.
I'm going to one up you here. I have a friend that is a first responder. And someone within his agency decided to talk poorly about him outside the agency, and it has directly submarined his career. Somebody was butthurt for some reason,
okay,
and they decided they wanted to go and run their mouth to somebody.
Like about his mental health stuff or just other stuff?
I'm not going to go into what it was about.
Oh, okay.
This is very vague.
Okay.
But something that had to do with this person, and then that has been used against him at this point. And to be honest with you, it's a moot point because whatever was going on is already over. And this is just like some guy, some girl decided they wanted to fucking submarine somebody's career. So they went outside the realm of their agency and decided to talk shit. And it came back to affect him. And he's getting no support from anybody.
Shocking.
And the thing about it is this is just another sign that it doesn't even have to be mental health. I say it a million times. The thin blue line doesn't fucking matter. It's muddy, dirty, and disdain. It's not even fucking effective. It's the same thing with lawyers. There is no separation between, as I say, family and state. There's no separation between work and home. There's no separation between your life and the life that you conduct at work. It's all tied together, and any chance somebody can use you against you, they're going to.
Well, and there was a brief moment while, in the couple minutes after we were still sitting in the courtroom, where in my mind, it took me a second and it gave me pauses like, can I keep doing what I'm doing? Can I keep being as loud as I'm being and not martyring myself? But it's a legitimate fear and concern. And then I was like, well, you know what? Fuck it. If someone wants to use it against me, as far as a case is concerned or whatnot, then I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. But it's scary as hell.
I mean, you took a risk when you started working with me months ago because you put things out there that are not popular to talk about. You put out things that are personal, and you should be scared. You should be concerned that it's going to be used against you. I hate to say it, but like when you started, I said, are you sure you want to do this? Mm-hmm. Because listen, once you put that out there, you've got a bullseye the size of Minnesota on your back. Anybody who's a fucking shit attorney or an attorney that thinks they're smarter than they are is going to use that against you to try to submarine your credibility. It's just going to happen. And unfortunately, it's a sign of weak character in the person that uses that against you, because we should all be sitting here going, okay, that's off limits.
Right. You're honor among thieves, like if nothing else.
You're saying you have an issue. You're saying you're struggling today. It should be like, okay, what can we do to help you? Do you need to take some time? And hey, listen, man, like, don't worry. I'm not going to say anything about that in court. Like the case in court is about the case in court. But now it's become fucking Judge Judy. And every motherfucking whack job attorney out there that has a weak case is going to undermine the attorney that they're going against. They're going to undermine the police officer. They're going to undermine anybody against them because they want to get this case thrown out on a technicality before it even goes to a fucking, hearing at big court. They want that preliminary hearing to fucking be the end of it.
And I guess my thing is that, you make a good point as far as it's going to be used, as it was in the case that I just talked about, but against us and undermining our credibility. But as far as I'm concerned, what made my final decision of, no, I'm not going to stop doing this is for me, and I'm the one that has to look in the mirror in the morning, it bolsters my own credibility.
Yes.
Myself.
Yes. It shows that you are confident enough in who you are and you are dealing with whatever's going on in your life and you're taking the high road and saying, listen, I have an issue. I'm dealing with it. I'm not who I am despite of what happens to me. I am who I am because I'm dealing with what's going on. I was lucky enough, Mandy Tinky, the director of the Allegheny County Medical Examiner's Office, reached out to me after I did the Channel 4 special. And I had the privilege of going down there. It was like 3 Mondays ago when they were doing continuing education. And I got to sit in on their mental health class. And there was a fire marshal there who did the speech, did the class, and I got to sit back there and listen to what they were talking about. And she kind of threw me under the bus at the end and goes, why don't you introduce yourself? I'm like, fuck. I didn't come here ready to talk. I came here to listen, and I got up there.
Sit back here.
I get up there, gave like a 2-3 minute little thing, but she's on a really righteous path right now. And I think it's phenomenal. Like they are the lost responders, as she puts it, because they are part of the first responders, but people forget about them because they may not be the first person there, but not every dead body, every dead body that a cop sees, they're seeing.
And autopsy.
And they're dealing with families losing their shit. They're dealing with, the stress of cutting bodies open on a daily basis, seeing grotesque wounds and damage to the human soul. Like they deal with a lot of bad shit and they don't get any help for it. And she's spearheading this whole idea of mental health assistance for the medical examiner's office. And I'm like, let me come talk to your people. Like, let me come down there because I'll give you my phone number. Like you need somebody. Hey, by the way, my phone number is 724-759-8600. If you are struggling, if you are having a problem with alcohol, you need somebody to talk to. I am not a therapist. I am not a professional. I am a total fucking idiot, but I'm willing to listen and direct you to the people that can help you. I know a really good counselor here in Pittsburgh that works with law enforcement predominantly, but works with first responders. I can also put you in touch with some rehab centers, some other therapists. But hey, call me 724-759-8600.
I think what she's doing is awesome. And they're a group that I also hadn't thought about. So, I mean, just from my standpoint, if there's anything I can do to help her cause, let me know because I think it's super important.
Just reach out to her. Just reach out to her because she's given some speeches she does stuff like pretty big, like at conferences and whatnot. And I told her, I said, listen, I'm here to, whatever you want, if you just want me to come in and listen, I'll come in and listen. Like I said, I'm not a professional. I just tell you what I did wrong, and I tell you what works and I tell you what it's like.
Well, and like you and I have said for as long as I've been coming here, somebody's got to start talking, even if it's nothing more than just talking about it and putting it out there. And I guess that's why I was just so upset with what this other attorney did. And it to me, I was glad that you said it because we know Natalie's slightly just a smidge judgmental and also just a smidge protective of her friends. So this was a bad series of events. But I'm looking at this person going, is that all you had? Is that all you had for your case?
The answer is yes.
Because that's lame.
The answer is yes. They were hoping
dirty.
They were hoping that they could lay doubt in the mental capacity of the attorney to have this case thrown out. That's exactly what they were trying to do.
And that's dirty. Like if of
course it's fucking dirty. That's what you fucking attorneys do.
No, because look, if I've got you up there on a suppression and you mess something up, that's one thing. I'm not going after you for being a drunk or ADHD or whatever, unless
we're living in the age where that's fair game now. That's fair game because no judge.
But if we're going to weaponize it, then we've just undid everything we're trying to do.
Yes and no. Yes and no. I think people have to be careful who they talk to. Unfortunately, they can't talk to people at work. Unless it's a friend of yours that you've known and that's your friend, your BFF, your buddy, you can't tell a coworker that you're having a bad day because that motherfucker wants your paycheck.
Unless there's those of us that just, like you said, and you did.
They will step over your dead body to get what they want.
You said before we hit record, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you know what you're, and I did. And I told you, I thought long and hard about it and I knew the risks and I knew, but the benefits outweighed the risk. But every once in a while, when you see something like that happen and play out in real time, it's like, Shit.
You know where the real problem lies with the judges. Because these judges, I mean, granted, there's some good ones out there, not many. Most of you suck, to be honest with you, because a preliminary hearing should be like 5 minutes and you guys let it go on for an hour and a half and you have a full trial because you're just stupid. But, you know, these judges, they don't want to cut people off. They don't want to shut people down because they don't want to seem as they're biased or unfair, right? They want to have this, I am really good at my job. I'm wearing my robe. I've got no underwear underneath and I got a little boner, but you know, they want to be seen as the unbiased, powerful person behind the bench, right? If you shut somebody down when they're bringing up something that's questionable or touchy-feely, then you're taking away their ability to defend their client to the best of their ability.
What the fuck?
Balloons, baby.
Oh, is that my belated birthday present? Thank you, Mark.
Yes, happy birthday. But I mean,
but I think there's a flip side to that I know we've butted heads about before, which is, you know, with some of the changes in judges and magistrates, not just magistrates, but judges too. You know, everybody's like, oh, they're so defense friendly. They're so defense friendly. No, they're actually forcing the prosecution to do their fucking jobs for once instead of just standing there and rubber stamping everything.
Yeah, but so so folks, if you've ever been to court, which you probably haven't, and if you have been, it sucks, right? Preliminary hearings are prima facie hearings. They're meant to determine that a crime was committed and that the articulable facts lead to a reasonable and objective officer to believe that the person that they arrested is the person that committed that crime. It's not a 100% this is what happened. It is to determine whether there's enough probable cause in the arrest in order to take it to the big court, Allegheny County Courthouse, and have a hearing up there. So these hearings should be very quick. It should be probable cause based. It should be, officer, what did you do? What did you see? What happened? Tell them what happened. Then the defense attorney goes, well, we don't believe this. We don't believe that. We have problems with this. We have problems with that. And you have a quick little argument, usually. And then the judge makes a ruling. Was there enough probable cause?
I mean, great. It is a low standard
of the case. If there isn't, it doesn't go to big court. If there is, it goes to big court. These judges allow suppression hearings. They allow 20 minutes of testimony. They allow defense attorneys, no offense, some defense attorneys to question the officer's capabilities and not the details of the case itself. And this is where
but we are allowed a limited amount.
I know, but this is where the court system has gone to shit because no preliminary hearing should be a fucking hour and a half long.
I agree with that. Unless it's a homicide or
literally
nasty.
If you bring up an evidentiary issue, you know, like you have an issue with the way the officer got to their search. Yes, you should be able to talk about that because that's part of the initial incident. That's part of the probable cause. How did the officer make the arrest? Well, he searched somebody. How did he search somebody? He either had consent, probable cause, or a warrant. So you got to argue that. But once it's been argued, you know, say you spend 5 minutes on that detail. Like, okay, so the officer, maybe he, you know, said something like, hey, you don't mind if I search your car, do you? And then the person said, no, I don't care. And then they wanted to recant their fucking search after he found something. Like, that's questionable because did the person feel like they were being forced into agreeing with the officer? Like there's that whole implied consent and all these other things that are going on.
From my standpoint, if I step in at that point and I start digging into that at a hearing,
yeah,
I don't want to. I'm letting it go to stand with the way he put it out there first. Because if I step in, I'm giving him a chance to fix it and make it look better. But
you also know how to do your job. Most of these people that are, you know, coming out of college are fucking morons.
All right, I'm old. I've been doing this a long time.
I mean, and I don't like. I apologize to the attorneys that are fresh to the job. I mean, it's just like being a cop. You got to learn. You got to take your lumps. But the idea is, prima facie is a very simple thing to explain. It's, did a crime happen? Do you have the facts that make you believe that the person that you put in the clink clink bracelets is the person that did it? If you don't believe it was them, then you don't fucking arrest them. You have enough prima facie. You have enough probable cause if you made it to the courthouse.
Presumably.
Most times you have enough. If you're half decent at your job and you're not an idiot, you have enough to bring it to the case, to the court. But the thing is, it should not take forever. Like I've had cases down there where, you know, I've answered the same question 7 different ways from Sunday. And I actually looked at the attorney and go, Your Honor, asked and answered. Can we move on, please?
No, and I agree with that. And it's funny you mentioned, I'm going to kind of take a left. I know you're shocked by that, but in young people, and you and I have talked about so many times, and I know the general public that listens to us agree, communication is just so lacking. And here's an example of something that happened. And this isn't a pat Natalie on the back. This is okay, he's throwing shit at me already and I didn't even start. So I was in trial.
Watermelon wave is delicious.
I was in trial court, and there was a young attorney who was defense counsel, and
You fixed your boobs.
Again, it was my sweater. There's a paperwork that needs filled out and turned into the court. Okay. So it was turned in. The judge is on the bench, noticed a couple mistakes, sends it back to the attorney. Can you fix these things? And we've all done it. Because Diff and I were talking about this, when you've been doing this as long as we have, it still comes back to us, but you're mortified because it's like, I can't believe I missed that.
Mm-hmm.
But this happened with this same attorney 5 cases in a row. The judge is having to hand the colloquy and the paperwork back to get fixed. And all the attorney is saying is, okay, I'll fix it. Okay. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking around, and the judge looks over at me, and I'm getting hot at this point because whether I think on a personal level they deserve it or not, I'm a big believer in the system and the respect for the system, because if you're the one that starts to undermine it, don't complain when you don't think it works.
Mm-hmm.
There's no like, oh, I'm so sorry, judge. I'm sorry. Like 5th, 6th time this happened.
Fix the shit.
Right. Stop handing stuff. So I'm like, and I can tell that the judge, who is one of the most mild-mannered people, is starting to get a little annoyed. Not mad, annoyed. The court staff is ready to kill this attorney. And the other attorneys in the room, we're all kind of looking at each other, and I'm like, okay, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. I know I can be bristly, and this is my thought process. I'm going to just write this person a note instead of going up and saying something to them and putting them off. So I get a little postie and I write, you probably should apologize to the court moving forward.
Yeah, you fucked
when this happens.
You fucked up. God forbid you call somebody on their bullshit.
So what subsequently happened is the following. 1, this was 3 months ago, and this attorney has yet to apologize and is still in the courtroom. It has continued from that day forward to mean mug me and glare at me every time they see me. And I'm thinking, I was just trying to help because I'm grateful for the people that helped me when I was that young attorney and told me, don't do stupid shit when you make, and we're there and be like, okay, just say you're sorry, take it back, get it, whatever it was.
Yeah, take your lumps and move on.
Right. But apologize, because you should. And I was so frustrated because I thought, I spent all this time and energy thinking about how to address this because I felt like I should, not because I'm the savior of the world, but because people did it for me and I appreciated it. And I wouldn't be as good at my job as I am if it weren't for those people that helped me learn how to do what I'm doing.
God forbid you try to tell somebody fresh out of law school that they're doing something wrong.
Right.
They already know everything.
It's just
this tween generation, whatever it's called now, where people come out of college and they think they know everything. And they want to tell a 20-year journeyman that they don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
But that's kind of a hot mess when you got someone's freedom in your hands.
It doesn't matter. Listen, most of these attorneys don't even think of it as they have somebody's freedom in their hand. They're just worried about the paycheck.
Well, it's the same on both sides. I don't think they realize that there's people lives in their hands when they're prosecuting or defending. Like, it's the same life. What are y'all doing?
There's a lot of cops out there that just care about the paycheck.
Yeah, we've bludgeoned that one. Yeah.
I still believe that law enforcement is amazing, and the folks that are doing it, righteously are really, really working hard. But I think there's so many parallels in what you're talking about as you go across the gamut of first responders and even veterans. I mean, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Damned if you speak out and correct somebody, damned if you don't. Like if you try to correct somebody and they get butthurt, then you got to deal with that. That may, they may know somebody that causes a problem. But if you don't say something, this idiot keeps doing what they're doing wrong, then somebody that knows you, that knows them, will be like, well, why didn't you set him straight?
Right.
Or her straight? You can't, your hands are tied across the board right now to get people to be proficient, efficient, and effective.
Well, I guess that leaves us with the only choice to make is to do what we think is right, whatever the, fallout is.
What
but
it comes
that's
down to.
Ridiculous.
That's what it comes down to. You have to stick to your moral compass, your moral guide, and say, fuck everybody else. I don't care what you think about me. I don't care what you think of what I do, but you won't question my fucking professionalism or my ability to do my fucking job.
But I was even nice, Natalie.
Yep.
Like, I didn't even say anything. I mean, I could have gone at her a lot differently.
Well,
and maybe I should have.
Is a moron. You know, I don't know who you're talking about, but apparently, whoever it is, when you see this, if you see this, you know who we're talking about. You need to fucking get your head out of your ass and start fucking listening to the people that have been doing this longer than you.
Like, I wasn't
Because they're
trying to
gonna
hurt you.
they're gonna help your career in the long
Right.
term. They're gonna keep you out of fucking all these, you know, judiciary hearings where you got to get your fucking license checked because you're a fucking moron. You know, it's at the end of the day, first responders, lawyers, judges, there's one standard you're all held to: uphold the Constitution of Pennsylvania, of the United States. That is your fucking job.
And it just, please re-listen. All of us in the system, it's not only one side is, it's not only the other side is, it's not, you know, and that's the biggest thing. And I try to explain this to young lawyers. I try to explain this to the cadets when I'm at the academy. There aren't two quote unquote sides. I mean, there are two sides, but it's of the same coin. We should both be after and all be after the same thing. And I think about it, if it wasn't for the older attorneys, if it wasn't for, you know, you had Todd Hollis on here. He was somebody that was helpful to me and has remained helpful to me. He's a couple years older than me, you know, and would be like, okay, you don't want to trust that. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do this, you know, or when I was doing my first suppression hearings as a young prosecutor and the only person I saw in the hall, because God forbid, you can't find any senior people in the DA's office to help you. So you're standing there as a brand new prosecutor, like, I don't know how the hell to do a suppression. So I'm walking down the hall and I see Mike Foglia there, and I'm a little, you know, young prosecutor. I'm like, good a person to ask as any. And I'm like, Mike, so I got this and you're not on it. So I knew that already. And he's like, okay, here's what you're trying to do. Here's what, and I to this day am grateful and try to pay it forward to people, because look, we don't all come out. I don't care how many times you went to law school or how many bar exams you took. It doesn't tell you shit about practicing law.
It's just like being a law enforcement officer. You go to the academy, you learn about search and seizure. You don't know how to fuck it up until you fuck it up. You know, you don't know what you're doing until you actually do it. And that's, I think, one of the problems is, you know, these people have these preconceived notions that once they get their degree, they're fucking smarter now. Like they're all of a sudden they have this magic piece of paper that keeps them from getting in trouble. Like,
that magic piece of paper is going to get you in more trouble than you could have gotten before you had it.
You know, you brought up diff. Okay, so diff can be a dick. You know, I was on a case where I was a witness in a federal lawsuit, and he brought in some high-powered fucking civil rights attorney from Philadelphia. Oh, by the way, I still hate this guy. So Diff, if you're watching, that guy was a dick. And I sat there for 8 hours in this deposition. And about halfway through, this guy kept talking to me like I was an asshole. And I got up and walked out, said, I'm not doing this. I'm not playing this game with you. When you want to talk to me like an adult, I'll come back in. So I left, and the city attorney, I think it was Chris Cimbala at the time, was like, you know, you have to go back in there. I was like, yeah, I know, but fuck him. Fuck him for talking to me like I'm a piece of shit. You know, this in lies one of the problems with the justice system, and that encompasses everybody involved, is that people want to talk down to you and people want to talk at you, and they don't want to listen. You know, federal depositions are different because if you're an officer and you're a witness, you can't say no, you can't not answer, you have to answer, and you have to put up with whatever they shout at you, because it's not there's no judge.
Right.
You know, and literally your attorney can object all fucking day long to they're blue in the face. You still got to answer the question. But there's a way to get information from people by talking to them with respect and dignity, and not talking down to people. And I think that's gotten lost in this fucking career path. Like, so many people out there want to talk shit on people, and they want to talk to you like an asshole and treat you like you're stupid. Like, dude, if an attorney came at me in court like I was dumb, then I just gave one word answers. I was like, all right, motherfucker, you want to fuck with me? Yes, no, don't recall. Sorry.
Yeah, like how well do you think it works when I'm at a prelim? Because you've done 1,000 of these. And look, the D's are running around like chicken without head. So the first thing the defense attorney is going to do is to go find the cop and see where we are.
Try to work the deal right away.
Right away, or
Right
at least see where we are.
Which is smart.
So, right, efficient. I'm all about efficiency. So I walk up to you as the officer and you give me what I get off in that, you're the defense attorney, I'm not talking to you. All right, well, you know how the rest of this case is going to go between you and me. And I should expect the same if I come at you like that. Like, it's, you know, and it's funny because one of the upsides I'm seeing with some of the newer folks, at least that I see through the county academy, is they're kind of old souls. So they understand that we're kind of all in this little rowboat together.
I was just going to say that it's not cowboys and Indians.
Right. We're all in the little dinghy. Everybody grab a paddle, and all we're going to do is paddle in a circle. That's all we do, but we have jobs to do. And at the end of the day, like you said, yes, I have to defend my client, but my reason for doing that is because, as naive as 25 years later it may sound, I believe in the Constitution, and I also swore an oath to uphold it.
People still operate like things are incentive based. Law enforcement is not incentive based. You do not get more money for making more arrests. You do indirectly by having more court time. That's why a lot of cops will make a lot of bullshit arrests because they want that fucking 3 hours of overtime to show up at court, plead it out, and leave in 20 minutes. It's no longer, this is no longer a let's get to the truth system. This is a let's get me paid system. Let's boost my ego. Let's boost my reputation so that I can move up in the system and become a judge and make a shit ton of money. There's very few people that moved up from attorney to judge that I think are doing a good job from what I've heard. Granted, it's really, really bad. It's just like
we've got some good ones coming in, and I'm happy about that.
People are in narcotics in the city of Pittsburgh that didn't make drug arrests when they were in uniform. Folks, narcotics. Let's bounce the ball. What does narcotics investigate? It's not cheeseburgers. It's fucking narcotics. It's fucking drugs. And you don't make a drug arrest in uniform in your entire fucking career, and now you're over there fucking doing drug investigations? That's like telling me to, Mark, go make a pizza from cardboard and fucking nails. It's not going to happen.
Well, and one of the things that I find funny, because it throws in a healthy dose of defense attorney, but it throws in a healthy dose of the boys club and the sexism in the system. And it exists, and I chose it willingly. I play better with guys than I do with women, so it's not usually an issue. But what really is literally fun for me to watch is I'll approach an officer in the hall of city court, where everybody lines up, and they'll come at me all, big and start trying to talk down to me. And then I'll look and I see old and dear friends of mine who have gotten closer and are standing behind the officer like this, just looking at him like, you're a dumbass. And then he turns around and is like, well, I told her. And they're like, no.
See, when I started, I had some veterans that I worked with that were fucking awesome. Jeff Dean, lifetime fucking cop, fucking good at his job, knew how to handle the fucking process at the courthouse. So like I would go up to him and be like, hey man, like I got this. What do you think I should do? And he would tell me, he just do this, Kneebone, like don't fuck around. He was, he knew his job inside and out. There were some other people down there, but none of them were my field trainers.
No.
They were all horrible.
They were, and I appreciate the fact that there are officers still that were in my class that came out with me when I came out of law school that, until the time where I left the DA's office, then I had my hiatus. And since then, newer officers that I've met since being a defense attorney where, I'll call them up about cases and be like, does this seem off to you? And they'll be like, yes, no, and I get those calls from them too, which as long as none of us, they're like, hey, have you gotten a call about anything that sounds like this? No. Okay. Well, they hired someone, so obviously it isn't you. And we can have this conversation. Still, nobody says any names, but it's, What are your thoughts? What are your opinions? I've had many officers call me before charging and be like, I don't know. I don't know what I should do. It kind of fell. I got to do something, but what should I do? And that gives me some faith in the system and hope for it, because we should all be able to do that, because the black and white of the law is the black and white of the law. You're not going to change it, and I'm not going to change it.
Well, let me give you a telltale sign that you're in for a hassle with a cop. If the cop walks in and you can see the veins in his bicep through his shirt sleeve, you're in for a long day.
Okay, you want to know my other telltale signs? The glasses on the back of the hat.
Whoa. I did that.
I was probably in for a day when you came in.
Well, you're in for a day because you're going to try to whoop me, and my cases were always solid. So.
Okay, but still, it's knowing you're in for it, and you're in for an attitude.
Yeah, but
this.
Oh yeah, the hands inside
and the this.
Vest. Yeah,
in front.
Oh my god. Yeah,
because that's the one thing I've really enjoyed about body cam.
Oh, don't forget the guys that wore all their fucking medals on their shirt.
Oh, see, I never encountered that, or maybe I just didn't notice that. But when you've had your shirts tightened so much that I got to see, and then I'm looking at your pants, and there's attorneys that wear the skinny suits too, that I'm wondering if you have any male anatomy, because I don't know how you can sit down with the pants on. But yes, you're in for it. But I also admit that I try to start with nice Natalie, but I also have RBF. I also am clearly an independent, speak my mind person. I've been around a long time and people know it, but that doesn't mean I'm coming at you in a bad way. a lot of younger people, especially younger officers, perceive it that way when it's just like, no, can we just move this along?
Well, you remember, this is the generation of butthurt and hurt feelings, right?
And
Like,
lack of communication abilities.
well, I mean, you get these fucking youngsters in there, and, you know, I'm going to be 52. So youngsters like 20 to 30, right? For me, it's like
I
20 to
might
30.
go to 35 at this point.
Well, maybe. But, you know, you get these people come in there and they're self-entitled. They feel that they should be treated a different way. They feel that you can't talk down. You can't like get mad at them, or you can't raise your voice, or you can't be stern with them, because they're going to go cry because they have 35 fucking 20 place trophies sitting on their shelf at home for just showing up. You know, I mean, you can't be an effective attorney or law enforcement officer if you just show up.
Completely agree.
I mean, you got to show up and you got to do the fucking work. Like, you got to earn the respect of an attorney, right? Like, so if I come into a case and I'm giving you a bunch of shit, or say I come in there, I'm just meek and mild and like, oh, I don't know what to do. You may look at me and go, well, this guy may have this person may have some issues, like, and you may try to help me. But if I come in there treating you like shit, you're going to be like,
right.
I'll see you in that room behind the double doors.
Because I'm the first one to say, when I opened my defense practice and I was suddenly in counties other than Allegheny, I grew up here. I didn't know what to do. So the best person to ask, if you can't find the tip staff in a courtroom, is the court reporter. They know everything.
Go to Armstrong County, Westmoreland County, where you do a year for a DUI.
Yeah.
You know, with down here, you get ARD and you're out fucking, you know, doing whatever.
Well, hold on, I was mid-sentence. But like, you know, the meek and questioning it, cop that comes in, not being sure, not knowing, I'd much prefer that person, because that to me shows your ego isn't so big that you want to know how to do it right.
But you got to watch how you talk to them. If you raise your voice, or like you have that I'm a dick personality. So like, people are going to take you wrong right out of the gate.
I can pick up on it quick enough that I can actually.
I hope so, because if you don't, you won't be in business anymore. You know what I mean?
And if I didn't, I also shouldn't be teaching.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I remember when I came out of the academy, people had no problems telling you you're being a fucking idiot. Like, you know, you'd be on the street, you do something stupid, they'd fucking fix it, and they pull you aside, be like, dumbass, what are you fucking doing? Like, that's not how you do it. You got to do it this way. Now, you got to sit there and you got to get approval from your sergeant to write them a little note that says, don't be a dick. And then you got to make it in triplicate. You got to send one to your chief, one to your lieutenant, one to your commander. You got to make sure that you have their permission to talk to this person. And then when you talk to him, you got to make sure that you put everything in the note to the fucking command staff, what you're going to say, because if you go outside the parameters and you hurt somebody's feelings, they're going to come back and put you in front of HR.
Well, yeah.
Now you're looking at a hostile work environment claim because some fucking little Yankee Doodle is too scared to fucking stand up for themselves. When
you were just trying to actually help something, you know, and I remember I say this often back in the day in the DA's office, where we were still allowed to be lawyers. They really have such limited ability to lawyer now. They don't give them any leeway. But I remember back in the day, Claire Capristo was our chief of staff and, you know, my direct supervisor. If we messed up, they would support you, depending on whether your reasons were sound, even if they didn't like your decision. If your reasons were sound and ethical for what you did, and it was usually offering something that somebody else thought you shouldn't have. But my whole thing is, you would get that support and you would get that education. Now, you would get a hell of a red ass behind closed doors of why you shouldn't have done it, what should be different next time. But it's that support, I think, that people aren't generally getting. But at the same time, it's not just that us older folks are not giving the support that the younger folks, they're impossible to support. They're impossible to teach. They're impossible to coach. They're impossible to communicate with whatsoever.
I'm going to give you an example of what it was like when I was a cop and what it's like now. I had a supervisor in Zone 5, Lieutenant Renee Kasuda. Hi, Renee. Remember me? I was like there like 6 months in Zone 5. I got in a foot pursuit and I lost my radio, and you know, my radio fell off and I didn't know where I was, so I wasn't responding on the radio. And then finally she gets on the radio, she's like, Kneebone, where are you? I'm like, I'll tell you in a minute. You know, I got shitty with her. And then she said, go over to channel 8, which is like a talk around channel. She goes, Kneebone, where are you? I need to know where you are right now. I'm like, I don't have a fucking clue where I am right now. Let me figure it out. And then once this was all said and done, you know, she didn't forget. She told me I was an idiot for what happened, and she was rightfully, you know, right to tell me so. But then she went over every report I wrote for like the next 6 months with a red marker to make sure that I was doing things right. Now, I could have easily sat there and cried like a little bitch and been like, oh my God, this supervisor has it out for me. Now, granted, she had a lot of problems with a lot of people, but I respect her for the fact that she never backed down. You know, she may have done things in a way that I didn't really like or agree with, but she did things, I think, in the long term, her goal was to make you better at what you were doing. It's just her approach sucked.
And I agree. She's one of my favorite people in the world.
Now, did I piss her off so bad when I was in narcotics?
Oh, wait. We had a real rough start. I'm sure you won't be shocked when I started the DA's office.
Rough start with Renee.
Okay. And a lot of people have a rough start with me. Put these two things together and it wasn't pretty. But I think what you said is so true. She wasn't, I'm hard pressed to think she was out to get you. I think she long term wanted to make you a better officer.
Yeah. Now her
maybe not in the best way.
Idea of a better officer.
Might
she
be
was an
different.
attorney.
I know.
So a lot of times she was like on the side of the bad guy when she was teaching you how to do shit.
No, she was showing you the other side.
Yeah, she wasn't showing it to you. She wanted you to
I
fucking
disagree.
rub people's backs and give a pat on the back.
Oh,
I'd be a bad person.
You're gonna sit here and say that Renee's a warm and fuzzy person. I mean, she's a lot of things, and I love her dearly, but kumbaya is not it.
I was in narcotics, and my partner at the time, if you watch this, you know who you are. We were on a call for some fucking shit, and we ended up forcing entry into a house, and she had all kinds of questions about it, and she brought us back into the office, and I got mad enough. I was like, if you would stop talking to us like we're fucking stupid, in her office, to her face, and my partner was like this. He just shrunk. He's like, I cannot believe you just did that. Listen, I didn't play well with some of the supervisors. I'm the first one to admit it because I'm a cocky, headstrong motherfucker. But,
really?
But like after that, my sergeant was so mad at me. My lieutenant was mad at me. Like, they're like, what the fuck are you thinking? I'm like, I just got tired of her fucking lip. I got tired of her talking to me like I was fucking dumb. And I had a snap moment where I said, stop talking. It was like, we're fucking stupid. Maybe not the best way to handle it, looking back on it. But it's now that same situation. If I would have talked back to that supervisor, I'd have been fucking suspended.
Really?
Oh, I would have been insubordination. You know, she understood that I was angry and emotional about what was going on, and I didn't like being questioned. Just like I didn't like the way she did things. She didn't like the way I approached her. And I admit it was the wrong way. But you can't do that. You can't do that now. Because you got these little fucking headstrong little weasels in supervisory roles that are like, you can't question me. I am the fucking boss.
See, and that just does no good. It comes back to like,
it's about me. It's not about us.
See,
it's about me.
I'm sorry, but law enforcement is a real dangerous place to have that attitude.
It's a fucking contact sport.
And it's real dangerous to have that attitude going in there like that. I mean, and that's, you know, and that's why I think I was here with the class that's currently in, that will finish up with the courtroom sims at the end of the week and into next week. I had a real hard time with them when I was teaching my rules of criminal procedure. I mean, and finally I was like, because, you know, you can sense attitude. When you've been doing this as long as you and I have, you can sense.
It's all in their body language.
You can sense attitude. You know something's up. And finally, it was like only a day and a half in, and I finally was like, all right, this is going to be really unprofessional, but what the fuck is the problem that you all have with me? Like, what is the deal? You're ignoring me. You're looking away. You're talking. You don't stay when what is the problem? Sorry. I was mad Dago moment.
I saw that.
Sorry about that.
Fucking shit just fell off the table.
What? You exaggerate. What is the problem? And literally, I'm grateful that they did, but a number of them really had a problem that I was a defense attorney and teaching at the academy. And were convinced that my sole purpose of being there.
Sorry, technical difficulties. My phone just died, so I had to put another camera up. Thank God I have 4.
It was important, and I wanted to finish it.
The idiot's fucking giving you a hassle at the fucking academy.
Oh, we're completely convinced that I was there to lead them astray with nefarious intent.
You're not? I don't know. The fuck? I mean, it's an honest question. Sorry.
And I was so...
See, I'm just showing how people get upset.
So, like, I wasn't even... I was so dumbfounded by this. And I was like, wow, I started off... We have to do intros when we start our class because they don't know us. It's not like before. And explain to them what I do. And this was one of the times where one of the supervisors didn't do an intro for us because they were all going in too many directions. I was like, it's really not that big a deal. I don't need, hoopla, and just I can tell them who I am, what I do. And there was this pushback, and I finally was at the point where I'm explaining it to them. I'm going through the whole, spiel, and they're still, I'm like, this isn't registering to them yet. So I finally looked at them, and I hate doing this because it has nothing to do with, I said, I'm the only person in this building that's not getting paid. As a matter of fact, I'm losing money every time I come in here, and you see me for 2 whole weeks of your 6 months. And for that time, and then they finally got, like, that's what I had to resort to.
See, this is totally it's unrelated, but it's not. I think they need to redo how they evaluate officers in the academy. This pass fail, taking tests, getting a score, staying above an 85 or whatever the fuck it is. I think that's horseshit, because I think when somebody starts getting like high scores all the time, they start to get overconfident. I think it should be like a monthly evaluation where they tell you, go, listen, you're on track to pass, but we want you to work on these things. Follow the MOPEC rules and what you have to know. Make sure you know what you have to know. Still have tests, but I think ultimately it should be based on evaluations that encompass their entire overall ability.
I agree with that.
How they approach people, how they talk to people, because one of the things that we've lost is the gift for gab, the ability to talk to people and read the room and build a rapport quickly in order to get an effective investigation.
Yeah, read the room. And there's only so much
that's been lost.
And I'm glad that we dealt with this in February when I was teaching, so that when I go back the end of next week and the following week into the courtroom stuff, that there's at least that barrier is gone. Because one of the things that Jared and I spend a lot of time teaching isn't just about the courtroom proper. It's the stuff that nobody wants to talk about. It's the stuff nobody wants to teach them. It's the, how you walk in here is important. Whether you take your hat off, so when you're going to swear stop moving, the things that nobody brings up, but it's also so much in your demeanor, and it's interesting. And I know the one thing that is the recruit supervisor, direct, I don't know what his official title is, but he comes through the classrooms repeatedly just to see how everybody's interacting when he's not. And I remember at first he kind of gave me a warning, like, I'm not scoping you. I was like, no, please, if you hear something I'm saying that's off, or please include me in that, because I think, we all want to be better. But I did pass my MOPAC instructor class.
Congratulations. So I get a question. What are your scenarios? How does that work?
Typically, they do the scenarios themselves. Typically what we get
is it courtroom?
Well, they do scenarios, then they come to us, they do a report, they come to us to go through a prelim. Okay.
So basically they're doing a fictitious arrest.
Well, they do it out.
And then they come into your thing, and then they have the preliminary hearing in order to see if they're like, if they get the four corners and all that type of shit.
Yeah, we cover some search warrant stuff depending on laws, there's usually a DUI, because that's a big thing, especially with newer officers. That's a lot of what you're first going to see. Domestics. Usually DUIs and domestics are what we're getting.
And fucking retail theft.
Retail theft is one that's unfortunately hard for us to do with the Sims, because you need that LP, and we don't have the extra people. We just have officers. Same thing we run into with trying to do the Sims with domestic cases, is explaining to them that
I'll come in and smack you around for a little bit, and then
you would like that, wouldn't you?
Oh, I would love it. It'd be so amazing.
Well, I told you.
I don't condone domestic violence. We're not partners.
Well, and I told you way back in the day, somebody I was dating that I'm very good friends with said, you are the reason men beat their wives, because I tend to push buttons.
Yes, you do push buttons.
I also don't condone it. And as the people have listened to before, I came out the other end of a DV situation, but that's what we do. It seems, I got the email, it seems like the list they're looking to do this time around is a bit more extensive. I saw something in there about mental health. I don't know how that's going to play out. I was just happy to see it, that it's even starting to get on the board.
So do you play as the judge, or what do you do? What is your role?
We don't have a judge because we don't need one. Like, that's not the purpose.
Okay.
I'm the defense attorney. There's a prosecutor there, but it's what you're really good. They're not going to, this prosecutor, our purpose is they're not going to spoon feed you. It's tough love.
Yeah.
Like, we want you to fuck up and admit really important things. Like, one of the things we always see is they sign off on the refusal line, but they hand me a BAC ticket.
Yeah.
That's a big problem, and that's perjury, and that's going to get you sued. Like, these are huge. So we want them to make those mistakes. We're not, the prosecutor, when it's Jared, he's not saying to them, did you form an opinion as to what, because they got to be able to just knee jerk it out.
Yeah.
So we don't have a judge, and we run it the same way. We'll do argument, we'll point things out, and we try to make sure each and every person runs through. This class is big, so it's going to be a bit much, but I know they're doing scenarios outside with the traffic stops and the noise always complain, different types of PC. Then they, we review search warrants with them to the best that we can.
So you do some search and seizure shit too?
They have a whole class on search and seizure, which follows after the crimes code. We're kind of changing the order a little bit because it's been in a bit of a backwards order.
Just tell them if they search a car, they're wrong, because that's pretty much what it is.
I'll let them know that.
Thank you.
I mean, I'd be okay with that.
I don't know. Yeah, we're already at 51 minutes. Fucking rambling here.
Yeah, sorry, I was a little pent up. It's been 6 months.
Hey, listen, door's always open.
Well, yeah, that 6 o'clock door with youth group's tough, but I miss it. I wish I could do it.
Yeah, well, crybaby.
No.
I made the mistake of doing a schedule around my time frame.
And that
God
was
forbid I do
perfectly
that
fine.
ever.
I just said I can't do it.
That's been the biggest problem with this whole thing since day one is like, I for the most part, you excluded, I worked around everybody else's schedule. And so I was like going straight off the clock from work, coming home, fucking going right into the podcast.
And that's insane. And I was like Sunday nights, during the school year, I got to transport my kid to youth group. And that's, as much as I love this, that's my priority. And so that's just where it left us. But she didn't have youth group tonight. So here I sit.
Good. Well, I think this is a productive conversation. I think that in my take from this whole thing is literally one caveat, and this is not a me thing. This is a we thing. We all have to work together. We all have to work within the confines of the system to uphold the Constitution. Like justice is the Constitution. If you withhold the Constitution, or sorry, if you hold up the Constitution, if you abide by the Constitution, if you defend the Constitution, you're going to find justice. It's hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
I think what I want, what I need, bullshit needs to go out the window across the board in the justice system. And I think it needs to get back to, everybody's rights matter.
Yeah.
Bad guy, good guy, the accused, they have rights. Everybody has rights.
Cops have rights.
The cops have rights. The attorneys have rights. And I think we need to focus on what the goal of the system is. And that's to use the information in front of you to enact justice. And I don't mean street justice. I mean,
actual, real, legit,
real justice. If the person's not guilty, then they get let go. If the person did something really fucking bad, then they go to jail. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, but that's what you and I have said. Like we law enforcement and the defense attorney we'll just leave it at those two should be seeking the same thing. Justice. There's no I in team, but there's definitely an M and an E. Unfortunately, everybody's out there. Sorry, I don't mean everybody, but a large group of people that are within this system are out there to make themselves look good and to make money. Listen, if you're taking a job as a cop to make money, then you're doing it for the wrong reason. That's a secondary fucking thing. Like making money, you're going to make money as a cop. It just is what it is. If you're full-time somewhere, you're going to make money. But you can't let making money force your hand in making arrests. And if the only reason you became a lawyer, whether it's a prosecutor in the DA's office, a PD, or this, money stuff speaks more to the private attorneys, but it really doesn't. If for any reason you're taking a government job as a prosecutor for the health benefits, for the straight 9 to 5 or 7 to 3 or for whatever, it's the wrong reasons. There is too much at stake for that to be the basis.
I make more money driving a truck than I ever did make as a cop.
But that can't be the basis of a human system.
But what I'm saying is, if you want to make money, go be a truck driver.
Yeah.
$100,000 a year if you fucking do your job and you don't wreck. I mean, come on. And you don't have the stress of fucking actually, being able to take somebody's freedom away. And I think as a large whole, a lot of people forget the idea of how powerful it is to be able to take someone's freedom away.
But did they ever even stop to realize that's what they're doing?
If they're being trained properly in the academy, one of the first things they should spend an entire week, in my mind, if not a month, drilling into their heads that, listen, if you take someone's freedom away, you have permanently affected their life. They are never going to forget this moment. It's never going to go away.
Mm-hmm.
They may get expunged, or your statute of limitations may fucking, expire. But at the end of the day, when you take someone's freedom away, you affect the rest of their life. Even if it's a summons offense, if it's a misdemeanor, whatever. Especially if you put somebody in jail. Especially if you put somebody in jail, though. Yeah. You have disrupted their financial situation. You have disrupted their home life. You have disrupted their work life. You have disrupted every aspect of their life. And if you're going to do that, you better be damn well sure that you have what it takes to do it.
Mm-hmm.
End of story. Don't fuck around.
Mark this day down. I don't have a counter argument for that.
Oh, fuck. 10 years from now, we're going to be saying the same fucking thing.
Yeah, we will be.
But closing words for the folks. Okay. Very good.
I had nothing.
Nothing? Well, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Hey,
See
guys.
you guys soon.
Just remember, share, help, repeat. Share your story. Help others. Do it as much as you can. And if you get bored, check out WTAE Channel 4 Action News on their website. It's called The Way to the Call, 3-part series. It's awesome, not just because I'm in it, but because they address mental health with first responders.
I do have last words.
Go ahead.
Speaking of doing things to help people, don't not do it because you're scared. Whether it's job ramifications or personal, still help.
Yes. Just know that if you do it, it's going to affect your life in some way, shape, or form. But I usually think that it's going to make it better. So we love you. And hopefully Natalie will be back sometime this decade. We're out.
See ya.